Emmanuel Forbes. What a weird transition from gaining 15 pounds.
Emmanuel Forbes desperate to gain weight, me desperate to lose it.
Emmanuel Forbes, who's the lightest cornerback in the history of the National Football League. I mean, that is ironic. No, he did supposedly gain 17 pounds, which came up.
Could you tell, by the way? Standing next to him?
No. I will say that if you told me he gained 5 pounds, I'd say okay. So what is that really? But 17, generally, you would notice. Like, even if you're 230 pounds, if you put on 17 pounds of muscle, I would know it. If you're 165, 17 pounds of that, it's 9.5% of your body. He added almost 10% of his body weight. I feel like it would be a little more.
You would notice,
but that's not neither here nor there. I mean, I'm sure he did. I don't think anybody's making it up. But he's a small guy. He just is. And I caught up with him today. Here's what he had to say.
Emmanuel, new camp, new season, new staff. How are you feeling about a weekend?
I'm feeling great. I'm going out there competing every day. Just looking forward to it.
How did you view your rookie season and then getting back to work after last year? What kind of things did you prioritize when you got back after it?
Definitely one thing is my weight and, just learning the playbook and, creating a closer bond with my coaches.
When you say closer bond, was that an issue you thought in the past, or was it something that you just realized now as a veteran second-year player in the league, maybe could elevate your game?
There's a lot of gray area, but they definitely knows a lot about DBs and turning over the ball and getting turned over. So I just take bits and parts of that of their mind, and they help me all day, every day, and just help me out.
On the outside looking in, it feels like to me when they hire Dan Quinn and they bring in Joe Witt, there's no position group that should be more excited about those guys coming here than the DBs and the corners and ball hawks, because they've had a whole career of elevating guys. When you found out that was what the staff was going to look like, what was your reaction, and how much studying did you do on their track record?
I already had a track record on them. They wanted me at Dallas out of the draft, but they weren't able to get me. So it was we already had kind of a close relationship. When they got hired, it's the best thing for me, I feel like.
And I think a lot of people on the outside have this idea of what the Dan Quinn corner looks like. It's that big, long, physical bruiser. But here you are working with the first team. He's been raving about how you look so far. How do you feel as a fit in this scheme defensively?
I feel perfect. As long as I got ball skills and able to do my job and create turnovers, I'm going to be great in this defense. So, yeah.
You've made, I guess other people have too, made a lot about the weight you've added. You referenced it. It's not like me adding weight where I go to the drive-thru. Like, it's hard for you, I'm sure, to grind. What went into adding? I think you said 17 pounds. What went into that?
It's my job. They asked me to do something, and I had to do it. And it's making me feel better. I feel better about myself, about my body, moving good, and just stronger, honestly.
But I just meant, like, was there we've heard, like, Michael Phelps, the swimmer, would eat, like, 12,000 calories. Was there a program you were on with, like, lifting or eating? Like, how did it actually work to do that?
It's a lot of eating, a lot of resting, rest my body, a lot of working out, and just honestly just trying to take care of my body and eating better. So, yeah.
Last couple things. Do you feel like going into year 2 with a new staff now, it's a new lease on life? Do you just hit reset, or do you enjoy looking back at last year and kind of learning from that?
Just leave the past in the past. It was a learning moment, of course, but it helped me out, and look forward to this year.
Last thing, next week, you guys actually get to practice against somebody else, play a game. Are you at a point now in this process where you're ready to just stop seeing your own guys and see somebody else?
Yeah, we're looking forward to going to the joint practices and preseason games, and we just keep getting better each day with each other. So, yeah.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I felt like there were a couple of potential nuggets there. The first was when I asked him, what did you want to prioritize and do differently than last year? And he said he wanted to get his weight up, which we'll get back to. And he said, create a closer bond with my coaches. Whoa.
Doesn't your radar go up there?
I followed up. I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, there was a lot of gray area. Didn't really give a lot of details. He would go on in the interview to say, I'm leaving the past in the past. But he wanted to create a closer bond with his coaches. I would say that's pretty telling.
It is pretty jarring to hear that, because it means that the implication, of course, is there wasn't one previously. That's a pretty reasonable conclusion there, right?
And by the way, if I'll, just naming random DBs that came through here, Corn Elder or some practice squad hopeful at some point, or some, waiver wire claim that played like Rashad Wildgoose, didn't have a great relationship with coaches or whatever, maybe that's a little more understandable. This was the 16th overall pick in the draft who was really important to that front office and that coaching staff. So for him to say he wanted to create a closer bond with coaches, to me, is like screaming into a megaphone about that group a year ago. Now, maybe it doesn't matter anymore. He really seems to like the current group, and how could you not? What does Dan Quinn's resume look like? What does Joe Witt's resume tell you? Those guys make defensive backs better. I got into it with him. Traditionally, you don't think about guys that look like Emmanuel Forbes when you think about their style of
Right.
corner. But he says essentially that they wanted him coming out. He knows that. I didn't know that, but he said basically they looked at me, they were going to draft me, they didn't get a chance to. They liked my ball skills. Well, they had back-to-back years, I think 3 in a row actually out of the last 4, where they had the leading interceptor in the league in their scheme defensively in their secondary. And now they got a guy who set the all-time record in pick sixes. So if you're Emmanuel Forbes, after the disaster that your rookie year was, where you got benched and you played the way that he did, what better chance, what better way to get back to playing like you did in college
Indeed.
than with this group coaching you?
Yeah, if there's anybody to do it, it's this particular group. I remember, it reminds me, I had a teammate years ago, and this is something I'm wondering about. I don't have a good answer, but a teammate years ago wasn't very good, and he just decided the coaches don't like me. Coaches don't like me because he didn't perform well and got benched and ultimately transferred. But you wonder, was that it? Was it because they were so annoyed that you weren't playing very well? Were you not following instruction? The coach doesn't like me, or I want a closer bond with my coach. Maybe he felt unsupported. I mean, it could be a two-way street, right? You could have not been coached very well. Certainly stands to reason that his previous defensive backs coach was a high school coach in his prior experience. Or if it was he wasn't performing very well, so they kind of had to focus on guys that were, and he felt like he was alone on an island. I don't know the answer to that, but sometimes when you're benched, you think, oh, the coach hates me, and it's like maybe he doesn't love your performance and still likes you as a person. I don't know, but that is an intriguing response.
He started today outside on the boundary opposite Benjamin St. Just, who's having a really good camp again. Question for you guys on the phones. Let's open them up at 800-636-1067. MGM National Harbor listener lines available to you. Do you expect Emmanuel Forbes to start all season? Last year, he ended up getting benched and was in and out of favor with that aforementioned staff. Do you think he gets right and breaks out this year and becomes an unquestioned starter? Or a year from now, are we talking about him being toward the back end of the DB's room? Which way is this going to go?
I wish I was more bullish on Forbes, but guys, okay, the linebackers drafted Jamin Davis. The Marty corner drafted Forbes. Until I see that he can play, I'm just not going to believe it. I mean, that's encouraging that the coaching staff we now have was interested in him when they were in Dallas, but he just looked to me to be so overmatched, and I just can't get past it. The corner we should have taken, he's up in New England.
I'm with you, Kevin Lockstep.
I am in seeing his believing mode for him, too, for the record, Kev. I need to see it. I'm not going to put any eggs in that basket. Yeah. I will tell you, I did like that they're giving him full confidence. They've got him out on the boundary, man-to-man against McLaurin. He was getting reps. I don't know if it's his decision or theirs, but, one-on-ones, he's going against Terry today, Jahan. Like, they're treating him as if he's going to be starting. So they're going to give him every chance this summer.
Well, that's good. You know what? I hope he puts it in my face and says, you are wrong. I can play. I hope so.
I'm in lockstep in terms of Forbes. And here's the thing. He's going to be here. Right? If they didn't care about Forbes, if he was a fourth-round Freddie or had been okay for a different regime or something, maybe he gets cut, maybe he gets benched, whatever. He's a first-round pick. You could, discard him and throw him away, put him at the back, or you could do everything you possibly could to see. And it sounds like they are, which is, I think is encouraging. You might as well empower the kid, right? Might as well make him feel good. Might as well try to pump him up, give him as much confidence as possible, because you'll gain anything by having him in the tank.